This is a muse about photographic software. It's not extensive, it's just looking at a quick view. Let's start off with NX View. This is the opening screen, which is a bit like your file manager. And if we have a look at a photo, double click it, we go in, we have our photo. We can crop it, we can resize it, we can do some adjustments to colour, levels, highlight, shadows, etc. We can adjust curves. So there's a fair bit of adjustment in there, and when we've done all that, we can save it out in a range of formats. So for basic work, it's not too bad. So let's have a look at another one, which is Faststone. Faststone is fairly similar. We have our tree like our file manager, and if we double click on one of these, comes up, looks like a normal, just a full screen view. But if we run our mouse to the edge, we find that we've got a bar where we can change our photo. Off to the right, we have the all the EXIF information and things about the photo. Down the bottom, we've got some saves and various other options there. And off to the right, we have a range of edit options, amongst others. Again, resize, crop. This one's got a clone and heal tool in it, so you can get rid of things in your image that are annoying you. Red eye reduction, and again, our light, which if we click on that, what we end up with is a set of controls down the bottom. So shadows, highlights, contrast, saturation. Do a cancel on that. And colours, a levels adjustment. I like the levels tools. You can just quickly drag and get your black and white levels right, and then adjust the middle one to get your centres right. Curves, a lot of people love curves. I find that I have a little bit of trouble getting fine enough graduations on it, so I'm not a curves favourite, but they certainly do have the uses. Sharpen, blur, noise reduction. So there's quite a range in there. For what it is, a free tool, it is very powerful, and it's actually quite popular. So we'll now have a look at probably our base level thing, which is Lightroom. Now, I don't have the Adobe suite. Originally it was too expensive, and now it's rental, and I prefer to own the software. It's a personal decision. Although with their new pricing structure, the total cost of ownership is a lot better than it used to be. Lightroom is very much, it has a complete a library, which is a full file management system, virtually database, very powerful. The develop tool is here. Again, you can see some of the classics: color, temperature, exposure controls, highlights, etc. You can do brushes and some local area adjustments, which is a significant advance on the other packages, and it's one of the industrial standards, so it's the reference. I went for Capture One, which again, it has a management system. You can filter on ratings, which you can apply, or colours. You can also set up and search on keywords. If we move on, there are quite a range of adjustment tools: white balance, exposure, shadows, highlights, clarity, levels, curves, vignetting. So there's quite a powerful range of tools. When I got it, it was cheaper than Photoshop. I think now the total cost of ownership of Photoshop is probably cheaper. There's not a huge amount in it, but a little bit cheaper. But I like this because I found I had better contrast and colour up front. Personal preference. If you want to go free, dark tables is probably one of the more powerful ones out there. So it starts off a thing called light table, which is really your file management system. And on that you can select an image and go into the dark room, and its layout is a little bit different. Again, you can contrast, sharpness, you can adjust the exposure. I think I have to click that again and scroll down. There's a short list and a long list in these. Exposure, so you can go in and adjust the exposure. Oops, I think I just minimized it rather than maximizing it. I can use this package, but I don't use it often. It is very powerful. Exposure. There we are, popped it up. Turn exposure on and you can do some exposure adjustments. And like all the good packages, there's a history, so you can go back or forward quickly with the history. A very powerful package. It does do masks, so you can do local area adjustments, and for a free tool it's extremely powerful. So our next one is, I'll go back to the Adobe, which is more or less an industrial standard, Photoshop. Lightroom is specifically aimed at photographers, helping them manage and do all the basics on it. Photoshop, you can do everything in Lightroom. It doesn't have the file management, the database type structure, but all the adjustments and everything you can do in Lightroom. It has layers. Layers are incredibly powerful. This is just a screenshot I grabbed off the web. So there's a white background. The next layer has the text help on it, and the resulting image is help on a white background. So it's taking, in effect, two different images and merging them together. This help is help on a clear background. Because it's a clear background, the white from the background layer shines through. So you can take two different photos, perhaps one with a nice sky, put on top of that one with a poor sky, filter out the poor sky so it becomes clear and let the nice sky shine through. So you're able to do a very powerful editing and adjustment with a program like Photoshop. Recently I ended up with Affinity. Affinity has the example or the advantage that it was a lot cheaper and you get to own it. Again, it has a development module like Photoshop. Maybe a little bit different than Photoshop, because Photoshop does actually say in the base settings, this doesn't. Once you've done the development, it brings it into the main program, and at that point, if you go back to your developer, you start from scratch. Double-edged sword, as my brother pointed out. You don't often do that, and if you're going back to that stage, often you want to do things differently. Again, a whole lot of tools, which brushes and fills and various things you can do, and there are a whole lot of adjustments. So you've got levels, contrast, vignettes. Very, very powerful. Would be as powerful as Photoshop. Some have suggested more so. And if you want to go off onto the free world, the GIMP. This one I've customised the layout a little bit. Again, we've got our various tools, brushes and everything on the side, and it deals in layers, so it's got the full, it's just using a little logo for layers, it's got the full power of the last couple of editors. It does not, I might get myself caught if I don't shut this down, it does not come with a raw developer, which you might think is an issue, but there are several raw developers out there that are designed to integrate with it. So if we look at something like the shot we were looking at, if we click open on it, this one's been integrated with Darktables. So if I open Darktables, because I've played with this image, it's been slightly lightened and the settings are there. When I close Darktables down, it opens the image in the GIMP. And then I can do things like, I don't know how to use the logos, a new layer, make it a transparent layer just to play with, and I could use a pencil, and if we look at our pencils we might want a hard brush, and if I want to set the colour I might want to set it to, no, red's there, that's easy. Okay, so I set and now I can come along and I can draw on it. Control Z, I can undo it. Let's just Pandora. What have I done? I've lost my layer. A new layer. Okay, I'm on that layer and I draw on it. I can turn that layer off and on. If I turn the background layer off, it's just clear with my drawing on it. They're the powers of layers. And of course our last tools, the Photoshop, Affinity Photo and the GIMP, have in many ways similar power. The menus and the way you go about things can be a little bit different and very frustrating at times to change from one to the other. But that's a quick run through. So you've got your very simple freebies, your NX view and fast stones. If you want more power, then you'll be looking at either your Adobe type suite, Lightroom, if you've got to do your full management. If you're just adjusting photos and want the absolute full artistic possibilities, then Photoshop. I went for Capture One. There are a couple of others out there that seem to have good reputations. DxO I don't know much about, but a couple of people have got On One, and I've played with somebody's On One. Very easy to use, quite powerful. Affinity Photo was cheaper than Photoshop when it was on special, and very powerful. And as a freebie, the GIMP is equally as powerful, and integrated with the raw developer gives you just about as much power as you want. Anyhow, that's a quick muse on some of the software that's out there to process photographs. Thank you.